They took off to Kentucky and removed their son Noah from the hospital, avoiding getting him chemotherapy.
I was looking for an alternative treatment. I was being helpful.
Scoured the internet for natural remedies to cancer. She called specialists. She even turned to Facebook.
The sheriff's office tracked them down and took 3-year-old Noah into custody.
We want him to receive a treatment that has less side effects.
Well, mom and dad in Florida, they're battling to regain custody of their 4-year-old boy. The reason Joshua McAdams and Taylor Blandball decided to stop their son's chemo treatments and look into natural remedies like CBD and cannabis oil.
So mostly in the group, people just discuss alternative cancer treatments that they've used, that has worked for them, has worked for family members, friends.
Now, the case made national headlines earlier this year when police hunted the family down in Kentucky. A judge ordered little Noah to live with his grandma, mandated the boy continue with chemotherapy for his leukemia. The family's attorney says the boy is in remission, but now his parents want him back, and a judge has 30 days to decide. So let's bring in Brad Micklin, family law attorney. Brad, thanks for being with us. So one of the big questions here, I'm sure a lot of people see, what are parents' rights? So let's listen. This is Noah's mom talking to ABC News. She lays it out there, and then we'll get your take coming out.
He had vicious mood swings, making him violent, making him very emotional, and he also started to lose his hair right away after the first treatment. This is not about whether we're choosing alternative therapies, natural therapies. This is about our rights as parents to seek other options.
So that leads us to you. What are parents' rights in a case like this?
Well, and this is such a heartbreaking case because you have a child dying of cancer and leukemia. And personally, I think both. I think the parents are wrong, and I think the court is wrong. But when it comes down to a legal perspective, the parents are right. They have a constitutional right to parent their child. They also have a constitutional right to refuse medication or medical treatments, so they have that right to make that decision for their child. The state doesn't necessarily have the right to come in and tell us how we're going to parent and care for children. I think it's an overstep of their boundaries.
So what makes this different? Is it because it could be life and death? It's leukemia and chemo, according to reports, it's 90% success rate.
And I think that's what's drawing this challenge. The states do have a right to parent children. That's the legal theory, is that a child is under the parent of their genes, but the state also parents all their children, meaning the state has an interest in protecting its children. And because there's so much compelling evidence to suggest that the parent's decision could lead to a death of this child, I think is what forced the action. And it's in this case, I understand it, but where do we draw the line? Are we going to say that, okay, it's okay for chemo, but we're not going to let them pick our medications? Or are we going to let them tell them that we can't have fast food because it could lead to diabetes? There's got to be a line. Unfortunately, this is just a bad case to have to draw that line.
Real quick, do you think this is precedent setting?
I don't think it's precedent setting per se, because this, again, the states do have the right if they think a child is being neglected or abused, and they're going to tie it into that kind of a phrase. They're going to say this is a willful neglect of a child's care. So it may set a precedent as what is the threshold choice that courts can start making. Like they can come in where it's life and death, but maybe not medication. But I don't think it's going to make that much of a standard. I think it's just going to be the court found that this was neglect, and it's going to open Pandora's box to all the other issues like medication and diet and things like that, and exercise.
Interesting. Hey, Brad, good to see you. Brad Micklin joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mike.